because it's like a loud explosion. I can hear
Was it
everything.
raining?
I can hear the clock ticking on your mantelpiece. Honestly, I can. Right now, I can hear the clock
Well,
ticking
you've
on
got
your
enhanced
mantel.
hearing.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just like Superman.
I don't have. I don't have a clock. I don't have a man.
And
Well,
you sure? You sure? It's the one on the wall. That's the one I hear ticking.
uh,
The one that's
I think
smooth
something's
that doesn't.
ticking. A little. I think something's ticking a little further back from your ear. You can hear it somewhere.
All right. No. Yeah. All right. Okay. So on with the show. On with the show, Sir Dave. How are you? How are you this morning? Morning.
I'm pretty
Welcome,
good.
Mike.
I'm pretty good.
Right. So you put this article up about Claude Lemo's
Amused brain.
brain being donated to science.
Yes, as we've as anyone realized that during the Montreal series, uh, recent series, of course, Montreal had did fairly well, unexpectedly well in the playoffs up to now. They're out of it now, but they brought in some of their old hockey heroes, for the fans, and Claude Lemieux is one of them. Claude Lemieux, I remember Claude Lemieux. He was a pretty tough player, and he was on some great teams, but he's only 60 years old or thereabouts, in his early 60s, 60 or
Yeah, he
early
was
60s.
60. He was
Yeah.
60 when he died. Yeah.
And shortly after he was hailed as one of the great old hockey heroes, he at one of the Montreal games, he killed himself.
Yeah.
And so his family has decided to, because Claude Lemieux was one of those really tough players that did a lot of hard hitting. This the suspicion is that his brain may have something happened to it, some kind of encephalitis, I believe it was, and they want his brain to be studied to determine what may have his career may have contributed to his depression and other things that have made his life miserable. Here's a hockey player who should have had a lot of money, should have a lot of fame, everything, but his life was not a happy place for him.
Yeah.
Kind of like Robin Williams in a way, like as much success and
Achieving the best.
whatever they
Yeah. Achieving the best, but yet feeling bad inside.
yeah, feeling terrible, and
Well,
so he took
he.
his own life just days after being celebrated as one of the old hockey heroes of time,
Yeah.
and that just is was baffling to everyone.
Yeah.
The articles are not too clear. He's had problems with his families, problems with his businesses, problems here and there, and he is subject to deep depression, and so he just decided that was it and took his life. As sadly, there was nothing left for him in his own mind to go on for,
Yeah.
and what the family wants to do is hand the brain over so that they can study it and see what might have caused this due to his occupation.
Yeah.
We find this too. We find people going. I think it was a football player some years ago that went off his lid. A
Yeah.
professional wrestler, the same thing. They would sometimes they if they're not killing themselves, they're killing other people or murder suicides and things like that.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of pressure in being a top and well-renowned sports star.
Yeah, but it's more than that in this particular case. You can just fade into the ether if you want. Uh, in many ways, if you're a retired sports star, you could just kind of fade away, maybe add your name to a few charities or something like that.
Yeah,
But they're thinking that his hard hitting style of play had a lot to do with this. This may have caused
probably.
brain, this sort of, I think it's uh, you'd have to look it up there. It's some kind of encephalitis caused by the shocking type of
Well,
play that they used.
he was he was one of these guys that would be slamming some or body checking somebody into the boards, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he had a very aggressive, rough style of play.
Yeah,
You need a guy like that on the team anyway. You want your opposition to look behind them, wonder where he is all the time.
yeah.
But in some players that adds up. You know,
Well, and yeah, because in fact, it's not just the other person that's taking that hit; it's him that's taking that hit, and he's
that's
doing
right.
it. He's doing it multiple times in the game.
Sure, the shock's going right into his
Yeah,
brain. You
yeah.
know,
And whilst
we found a lot of problems with professional athletes in hard hitting sports. That
yeah,
this is a problem.
yeah. Well, and they've also remember with hockey, they've marked out the question about brain injury in hockey for quite some time, haven't they?
Yes, and well, in football too, any of the big contact sports, and sort of the reverberation from that, like what happens from continuous, and what happens is there's a problem, particularly with continuous concussions. Not only does they've studied a lot of football players and stuff in the states because that's their sort of their aim. That's their big sport down there,
Yeah.
and they found that uh, a lot of the football players have lost their cognitive abilities, lost their ability to be sensible about what they're thinking, like making mountains out of molehills, or their logical thinking has been reduced,
Hmm. Yeah.
and so they go through this sort of a long term. They have to be watched, basically. Their family and all that have to watch them because now they can't use the brain like the rest of us do because there are things that interfere with the thought process,
Yeah.
and they're directly accountable to the sport that they were in.
Yeah. Well, there was one example of this in British soccer. There was this hard man defender, hard man there. I don't remember his name. He basically he when he retired, he opened up a pub. And I remember going to the pub one time with some friends of mine. Basically, the guy was, almost sat there in the corner as a vegetable, bringing people into the club. He was not, he was, didn't make sense in anything he said.
What was his occupation?
He was a defender in football.
But soccer, football.
Yeah, yeah.
So there was no
Again, hard
recognition that this
hitting.
was.
He was a hard hitting professional defender.
So he
You
hit
go,
with his head.
no, no, not hit with his head. I mean, yeah, they head the ball, to
Oh,
defend
okay.
the things, but not really hitting with his head. But he'd take his whole body, he'd slam his whole body into somebody if he could get away with it.
Okay, so that may have been a contributing factor in his
Yeah,
case.
yeah, and so there are, yeah, I know there's yellow cards and red cards in soccer, but it doesn't stop that sort of thing going on. Let's be honest,
Yeah.
right?
Well, anyway, so this was a big move by the family. The family immediately, I don't know where they got the idea, but they was right away. Look, we know something's wrong with our guy here.
Yeah,
There's been something wrong
the
for a
right
very
thing
long
to do.
time. What went wrong? Because
Yeah,
obviously, if they say, "Here, take the brain, take it," try to figure out what it is, at a point of huge emotional um, you know, an emotional time. I think my hat's off to the family. They recognized something was seriously wrong, that whatever was happening in the cloud was not normal, and they're handing his brain over to see if his occupation had anything to do
Yeah,
with the
yeah,
way in which his mind changed.
yeah. And when you consider that he was brought on as a torchbearer prior to the playoff game, you know, those are usually the celebrated stars of the past, aren't they?
Sure, yeah, he just got a huge amounts of recognition.
Yeah,
You know, he got huge amounts of recognition, but and that was one of it. I guess at one time that was one of his problems. He felt he didn't get recognized like his co-players as much, but that could have been just in his mind rather than in reality, because his mind had been changing, and it
yeah,
had been his and the course in which his mind worked quite often had something to do with the abuse that his brain had taken in his occupation.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
but anyway, sadly as it is, he was a great hockey player. I remember him. He was um, an extraordinarily good hockey player. Montreal really needed him in those days, and it's a very sad thing. But my hats off to the family, as I would say too. That thank you very much for doing that. It may help
yeah.
somebody later on in life.
All right. So Wayne Gates expressed his disappointment after Bill 113, the Fair Prices and Tax-Free Groceries Act 2026, was defeated up after its second reading.
It's defeated after a second reading, not because it's a bad bill, but because it's an NDP bill. I can pretty well guarantee you that nobody's going to give the NDP the ability to do something meaningful when they don't have that many people in Parliament. That's
Yeah,
just the rules. Now, B 113, the fair prices and tax free groceries. And I'm going to read this right off. It's not in the article in itself. If you would read the article, you would just say that, oh, it's something to do to help reduce prices or something. But this is what it really is. So B 113, the Fair Prices and Tax and Groceries Act, proposed a two-part provincial plan to lower grocery costs. Introduced by the NDP, the legislation sought to eliminate the provincial portion of the HST on all food products and non-alcoholic beverages and ban anti-competitive lease agreements used by large grocery chains that block cheaper competitors from opening nearby. Now, the first thing I could say is you should have split that bill in two.
yeah,
You can
great.
get the HST, the provincial part of the HST off, but if you combine it with the uh, anti-competitive grocery chain thing, yeah, that's a tall order.
Yeah,
What
yeah,
happens is this anti-competitive thing. Let's say you have a plaza. Let's say you have Niagara Square, and you're going to bring in a grocery store. Well, uh, in your lease, you're going to say you can't bring in any other food stores in this plaza, or I won't put my. I'm Costco. Let's say I'm Costco. I'm coming into, which is already in Niagara Square. Well, you can imagine the deal. No one else in the area sells the food. No one else in the area sells electronics. That's my. If you want me to be in your plaza, you want me to be your keystone store, which is quite often a big thing like Costco. Then these are the conditions.
yeah,
You can't
yeah,
have another person sell electronics. You can't have another person sell groceries, and that's what's called the anti-competitive clauses.
yeah,
So
yeah,
the NDP figures like if you put too many of these anti-competitive clauses in with grocery stores, then grocery stores can keep their prices higher and not have to worry about competition.
and in one respect they're right, but in fact there's a difference between that and I think that there would have been cross-party support for removing making tax-free groceries. That would have, I think, had a lot more support. um, I get the two bills. I understand the two bills. the two parts of the bill. But I think the tax-free groceries would have been a good thing and would have probably gotten support.
Yes, and but there's also things like they non-alcoholic drinks. Well, pop, really? You don't want to tax pop? Pop is a sugar drink. It's
I
no
think
good
you
for
should.
anyone.
Yeah,
It's actually absolutely useless. It's fact. It's a health. If anything, it's a health problem. You don't want to encourage people to drink too much pop
yeah,
because it's not good for you.
yeah.
So why not tax the pop? Maybe
Yeah.
not tax vegetable juices or fruit
Well,
juices that have no
and then
added sugar.
again, but then again, for example, canned vegetables, would you tax them?
No,
Exactly. Or
no,
canned meats, you wouldn't tax them either,
no,
would you?
no.
Right?
Anything is food, but a granola bar, yeah, I would. I would
Yeah,
tax it
yeah.
because it's more of a
Because it's
treat.
not food. Yeah,
Well, it is a kind of a food, and you put it in the kids' school thing. But I would be very 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 careful about what kind of prepared foods they
yeah,
have instead of natural food. So all natural foods, no, don't tax it. Whether it's in a can, whether it's in the freezer, whether it's in your produce department. I think a lot of that isn't taxed anyway. So when they put a
mhm,
bill like this and say any non-alcoholic drinks, well, God, you're pushing people into very bad drinks like pop.
yeah.
So if it's a natural thing, like a natural fruit
Well, in
juice,
fact,
or
sometimes alcoholic beverages are healthier than pop.
well, they they're not too good either way. Pop puts a lot of sugar in it, and if it's a sugarless drink, it does other things. Stay away from pop as much as you can. I'm very lucky. I very rarely drink pop of any kind. So my one weakness is ginger beer. But good, thank God for me, I can't find it too often anywhere out there. So
As opposed to ginger ale.
yeah, opposed to ginger ale. I like
I
ginger ale
know that.
too, but ginger beer is the thing. Ginger beer is about the only pop that I would buy. Let's put it that
I
way.
know a place in walkable distance from your house. Well, it's a long walk.
Don't tell me. Don't tell me.
That will sell you ginger
Don't,
beer, but
don't
I'm
tell
not
me.
telling you. I'm not telling you where.
Yeah, but you told me it's close by, right? Now I'm going to be investigating everyone.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not telling you where, but it is a distinctly unique store,
Oh, okay. Well,
and they sell ginger beer.
well, I like ginger beer, but even when ginger beer is available, I only buy it at times for a treat, and it's not something I would drink every day. I would drink
Yeah,
it as a treat on a Sunday afternoon, maybe sitting in the sun, a ginger beer over ice or something. Um, I am particularly partial to good ginger beer. But aside from that, what's say here? Scumbags do not want to help. They want us all poor. Well, in this particular case, I think you're right about that, Mike. Like they want the control. They don't want to. They want the people with the big money to control things, and so they're not going to put. They're going to make sure that the big stores get their anti-competitive edge. They're going to
yeah,
make sure that um, you know, but I think the bill should have been written first and foremost. First, take the HST off of food products. Now, HST is already off of food products, I think, isn't it?
largely yes. But you see, it's inconsistent the way it is done right now. This is part of the problem. I think Bill 113 was just basically looking at making it consistent across the board.
Yeah, and I'll bring it back up again here. So it was supposed to eliminate the provincial portion of HSD on all food products and non-alcoholic drinks. No, I can't agree with that because if you've got cakes and all this other, so you're asking people to spend their money on things that are bad or not good for them, like cake and candies and cookies and all that kind of thing. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't
I'm
take the.
sure there's,
I wouldn't take the tax off of them at all. But I would
yeah,
on any food that is processed that's still good for you. Like you could argue that canned corn is processed because it's in a can, but uh, no, take that off because it's corn in the can, asparagus in the can, or carrots in the
yeah,
can, or whatever's
yeah.
in the can or the jar. Despite the fact that it might have been treated and processed, and maybe the biggest problem with canned stuff is the huge amounts of salt in it. But there should be nice warning put on the can. Aside from that, though, no. But when
Well,
you're
I think the
asking for
food, I
pop,
think,
you're asking for prices to come off of pop and cookies and cakes and things like that. The taxes, as far as I'm concerned, could stay on those and any kind of sugary drink
yeah,
uh, that's not natural, like a fruit juice or
yeah,
a vegetable.
I think there should be warning labels for both salt and sugar on food.
Yes, but they want to eliminate on all. I think a much better process would be to pick out those things and make everyone aware of the things that are already um, without provincial taxes on it, and demand that the feds take their tax off of food too,
Yeah. All right. The thing is that
if it
I would
still
also
exists.
say,
I'm not even sure that HST is on. Like
yeah,
you, any if you go to the store, let's say, and you get the HST is put on any kind of processed food.
yeah,
But if you go get like a head of lettuce or something, there's no HST on that. But it is on maybe a made up salad dressing. You know.
yeah. Okay. Well, the other thing is, I would say to people, if you want to try a nice juice drink, to replace Coke or something that's still fizzy, try kombucha.
So,
Zero
but
percent
and
sugar.
yeah, but to get back to the bill here, it wasn't going to go anyway.
Yeah,
Number one, because it's NDP. No one's going to. If it was an NDP bill, and it looked like it was a success. Going to be, it was not going to work. That's one reason to get rid of it. But it's a bigger reason to get rid of it if it's going to be a success,
yeah,
right? Number
yeah,
one issue: do not let your team win. I think they could have worked with this bill. I think they could have worked with the NDP and come up with a bill or something that can relieve the pressure on the average person for
yeah,
their grocery expenses. I also think that food education is a big thing. It's very surprising to me when I talked to Grow a few years ago on their what they did to educate people on food. And if you go to Grow to get food, you're not going to get junk. You're going to get pretty good stuff, even
yeah,
if it is a
yeah,
processed cereal or something like that. It's still
yeah,
going to have
yeah,
a lot of vitamin and good things for the kids and the family.
yeah.
And so in my mind, um, in my mind, that is the should be in tandem with all of these things. The kind of food that people eat surprises me. Uh, you know, uh,
Well, I think, as I said, we need to be starting to put salt and sugar warnings on labels.
Oh yeah, salt and sugar are two deadly killers. Like salt is the new tobacco, or sugar is the new tobacco. Really, it's put into everything.
Yeah, it's put
The
into everything. Yeah.
obesity epidemic we face now is largely due to sugar, like sugar and pop,
Well, there
Wileyville.
was one
I don't
thing.
know about you. When I was a kid, having a bottle of pop was a treat. We didn't have it every day. We may have had it once a month. In the summertime, we may have had it once a week. You
Well,
know,
I tell you, it's a treat at work. You see, I go buy a slab of pop for the office, right? It's a treat at work. So we get one diet drink and one non-diet drink, right? So I'm one of the kind of few people that has the non-diet drink when it's available, and the non-diet drink seems to go in about 3 days.
Oh, okay.
Right? The non-diet one goes in about 3 days. It's gone. Um,
Well, when I was at work, the number one drink was water. My God, like I could just imagine right now being on a shutdown in the steel mill, and that's going to happen for the guys right now. It's
yeah,
going to be 1 billion degrees outside, and you're going to be slugging around hot equipment.
yeah.
What is the number one drink? Water, 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 water.
Absolutely, of course, because in fact, just turn, you probably have those days where you turn the tap on and stick your head under it.
Oh God, I could tell you stories. I guess, well, anyway, we won't get into that. I was on jobs where guys were dropping because of
Yeah, yeah,
heat
yeah,
stroke, and some guys never even come back to the job. They get sick, heat stroke. Yeah, it was. Uh, yeah. Oh God, I remember jobs starting before you even got the job. You could feel the sweat rolling down your back, and that would
yeah.
be like for 12 hour shift. And they would drink gallons and gallons of water and not urinate all day.
Yeah.
That's how much water was going into you. You could go 12 hours
Well,
of drinking as much water as you could put in your system, and you never went to the bathroom
you
because it's
must have
all
also
sweat out.
experienced that in Libya
Yes, at times. Yeah,
you know?
there was times there, very
Because
very
when I
dry.
was in Saudi Arabia, I could drink gallons of water, and as you say, never pee.
Well, we got into a situation once. The truck we were in coming into camp, we were cutting across the desert, and something happened to it. It could only go at a snail's pace. We could only had one gear, and it would only go very very slow. It did move, but it went extremely slow. And so we didn't have enough water. But what we had was cases and cases of Pepsi in the back of the truck. And what we did then, we just got a Pepsi can of Pepsi because that was the only fluid going. But that went south because what happened, it was so hot and dry that your throat would stick together. So
Yeah.
if you took a drink of Pepsi, then what happened, it was so dry that your throat started sticking together and you're gagging. And what I found that we had to do was take a couple of cans of Pepsi, and every 2 or 3 minutes take a little sip to block that sticking off my throat. My throat would stick together, and I take another drink, and it open up for a few minutes, and I take another sip all the way to camp. As soon as I got to camp,
Mhm.
of course, ran to get some water. But that was my. I thought to myself, "Geez, this Pepsi ain't helping me out here. It's
Yeah.
making my throat stick together."
Yeah. Well, in fact, actually, you go to places like the hot desert, and you realize the value of water.
Water is essential. Like
Yeah.
you can probably survive many days without food, but not too long without water.
Yeah. Okay. Sweden's prime minister has basically joked about Canada joining the EU and saying, something we joke in Sweden is that Canada's the most Nordic country in the world outside of the Nordic Five. Right? And he's also saying there may be a place for Canada in the European Union to join like-minded nations as the most Nordic country in the world outside of the Nordics.
Yeah, the Nordics would be like Finland, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, and Iceland.
Yeah,
I think those are the five he's talking about.
yeah,
And and we are the democratic countries that are charged with looking after the Arctic, unless you get somebody like uh, Donald Jesus Trump who wants to invade and conquer Greenland. He really sets the bar low since there's only 50,000 or 60,000 people there. But let me that this is like he's joking around, but definitely our interests are converging. And look, I'm going to give the orange guy credit here because if he hadn't started his BS, we would have merrily gone along and done nothing. And this is a situation where we can reconnect with the rest of the world. We
Yeah.
have been almost as egocentric as the United States. We've looked south, we've looked into ourselves.
Yeah.
Now what's happening? This is a very good thing in the long run. The silver lining is that we're going to be a better nation in the long run because we have more connections with other countries,
Yeah.
including a connection with the other Nordic countries that have a very clear interest in the Arctic, in the Arctic areas, and we have abilities to trade with these people, communicate with them. They are NATO nations, right? The big problem with the United States running everything, it was just too expensive, costly, and all that. So I think the best thing going now is Canada connecting with all these independent of the United States and doing what we can to improve trade, defense, particularly defense. And we really have more in common politically these days with the Nordic countries than we do with the United States. We find the United States is a um, very compromised uh, democracy because
Yeah.
they have only a two-party system. And as Marjorie Taylor Greene, I hate to quote her, but she calls it the uniparty. Basically, if if you're a Republican, you're supporting these rich people. If you're a Democrat, you're supporting these rich people. As
Yeah.
Massey have said, almost all the legislation that comes before the Congress comes from rich, interested people. They are the
Yeah.
lobbies that bring in the legislation. Very little of the legislation is actually born within Congress. It starts with the lobbies first, and the Congress and the Senate are pretty much just rubber stampers of big lobby groups, big money that pushes the government where it needs to be. So we can avoid that. We can avoid that if we interconnect with, or help avoid that, interconnect with
Yeah.
other other like-minded democracies, ones that aren't so billionaire dependent. Um, give no, I'm not naive here. I know there are billionaires in Canada. Dave, who is I can't read the T word, something guy, who is the the, whatever. I don't know that fellow.
Yeah.
I think he's referring to some obscure politician, a very modest, quiet, unassuming politician. Anyway, yeah. So
Is he a
yeah, well,
politician? Is he a politician at all? Mm.
I'm
And
not
how
sure.
many? And how many
He's
World?
a con man. He's a con man. Like I
And
mean,
how many World Cup games is he
he's
going
increased
to?
his family's wealth at least double. It looks like it's almost triple. He's They're tracing his
Okay,
stock
tell us
portfolio
more. Tell us more. Tell us more, more, more.
more. He wants to get me to start ranting. Well,
He does. He does.
I'm always on the lip of a rant against that guy, but
Yeah.
I've got self control until this show's over, and then I'll rage my head off and go purple, yelling. But so that's
Well,
the system
obviously,
now.
part
So
part and parcel of
that's why the Swedish prime minister has made the joke.
yeah, and part and parcel of this is last week's announcement on Global Eye.
Yes, the Swedes and the Canadians came up with a really good deal for a sort of a spy plane basically, or a observational plane, eyes in the skies type thing,
Yeah.
a global eye,
Well, it's
which
the next generation AWAC.
already used a bombardier plane.
Yeah, and it's an obvious choice for Canada because it's the next generation AWACS, and the AWACS systems they're basically pretty damn old now.
Well, they could be approved anyway, anytime. But the type of there was a Boeing competitor for this, but Canada turned it down.
Yeah.
Um, Now, of course, the Americans would get mad at that, but they can't get too mad because Boeing had a lot of difficulties with it. So there's a lot of reasons to turn it down.
Yeah.
So you haven't heard.
Not the F-150. It is, sorry, it's not the F-150. That was the wrong one. And I don't even remember the.
It's a surveillance aircraft, basically what
Yeah,
it is.
yeah. It's a
Um,
different. It's a
Early
different beast
warning, all that.
entirely.
Yeah. So it's a good deal for both countries. There we have the back and
Yeah,
forth cooperation
yeah,
that we have the
yeah.
and we're going to have more of that going
All right.
forward. So that I would say that unassuming, self-deprecating fellow south of the border has done us a favor by pushing us into looking for different trade. Like this is could be a precursor to being a member of the EU or be a preferred customer of the EU.
Yeah,
Because Carney's gone all over the world and said, "Look, we got what you want," and he's gone down to New York City and done the same thing last week. We got what you want. We got
yeah,
minerals, we got gas, we got oil, we got chromium, we've got rare earth metals, we've got nickel, we've got anything you want, we got it. You know, help us
yeah,
shell out some of that coin, help us get it out of the ground, help us get it to port, and you can make lots of coin. And that is a different story. Now, the Americans,
yeah.
of course, the bad story is our productivity level has gone completely down. Carney, of course, is trying to boost that.
Well,
Now, you can
get some orders
with the
in from the.
United States. I have to add this: with the United States, the productivity has gone up.
Yeah,
So the productivity in the United States, as much as all the tariffs and all the turmoil in the world, they are an engine of efficiency. Believe it or not, their
but
productivity
get
is
some
very
orders.
very high compared to ours.
But get some orders, and we'll get the productivity up, Dave.
Yeah, well, that's going to be an essential thing. If
Yeah,
you're, it's a kind of a self fulfilling prophecy, right? So if you're not doing so well, you're not going to reinvest in your company. If you don't reinvest in your company, your productivity goes low. So if you
yeah,
then have money to invest, then you're going to invest it maybe in the United States instead of in Canada. And then when
yeah.
people look north of the border, they say, "Why would we want to invest there? The productivity level is low."
Hmm.
And that's because the
Oh yeah,
people's confidence in the government or the economy isn't there. And so, okay, we're not going to invest there. And then the company that's already here says, "Oh, look, no one's investing in us, so we better hold on to our money and not self-invest. And if we got any spare money, well, maybe we'll invest it south of the border." See, it's an ever-ending loop like
yeah.
that. So what we want to do is to bring investment into Canada, make sure our people work and
Right,
progress. And we're not going to do that without a higher productivity level. And
right.
when you're Canada and you are the worst in the G7, even worse than Italy, you got problems.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on. St. Catharines candidates. Just quick run through a game which we'll be doing between now and the election on a at least a couple of times a week with all the towns and cities across the region. Candidates for mayor in St. Catharines, you've got Anne Marie Zammit, who we talked about last time, and you've got the other candidate that's on the list here is Jimmy Jackson. All right. So jimmyjackson.niagaracenter@gmail.com is his thing. So it looks like he's been a Niagara Center candidate in the past, right? Okay, Ward One, Meriton, Matt Amar, Jeffrey Crane, John Edgar, and Jacqueline Lindell are the nominees so far. Ward 2 St Andrews, only Matt Harris has actually put his name in the ring at the moment. Ward 3, we've got Alexander Miller, Sal Sorrento, former regional councillor, Mark Stevens, who I think is a sitting councillor, and Kate Warnenberg. Right, Ward 4 St Patrick's, you've got Grant Higginson, Noah Machek, Robin McPherson, and Caleb Ratzlaff and Austin Scheinel. Don't know. I don't. I'm not familiar with any of them. But anyway, okay. Ward 5 Grantham, Spencer Bellows de Wolf and Dawn Dodge. And Ward 6 Port Dalhousie, we've got Mater Mako and Constantina O'Reilly and Bruce Williamson. And for school board trustees, okay, there's Jennifer and Jandy, Kate Baggett, Lauren Bubnick, Mike Brasso, Jonathan Fast. That's for District School Board of Niagara. Catholic School Board of Niagara, you've got Rianne Burkholder. Okay, weird. And you've got Larry Hubers. Right. And they've actually got they've got no candidates for the French system.
Well, I suppose that'll come.
Yep, that'll come in time, right? So we're just taking a look around them every once in a while, every few days, right? So,
Okay.
yep, just to make sure everybody's aware of them. And Trump keeps winning. Winning what?
Yes,
Whining,
I see.
maybe.
I see these. He keeps winning the war. He has a new peace deal every week,
Yeah,
sometimes two, because he already
whining,
won the
maybe.
war. You know, they got
Whining,
no
maybe.
navy, they got no air defense, they got no air force. We won. We completely won. We can't open the Straits of Hormuz, but guess what? The way we're gonna open the Strait of Hormuz is by blocking the Strait of Hormuz. So they block it and we block it, and we block it better than them. So we win.
Yeah.
I guess
Okay.
I guess I guess he freaked out on Netanyahu again. According to reports, they got into a phone call and Trump freaked out on him because Netanyahu won't quit in Lebanon because one of the one of the aspects of the peace deal or the ceasefire, pardon me, is to have hostilities end in Lebanon. But Israel isn't. They're bombing Beirut. They've gone over the Litani River. They keep mowing down people's homes. And Trump says, "What are you doing? Are you insane?" But Bibi knows he can do anything he wants. He can do anything he wants. He's got the Congress and Senate in his pocket, and Trump needs him and the money that comes out of the Israeli lobby, so he can yell and scream at Bibi all day long. Bibi's going to do what Bibi wants.
I got breaking news, Dave. I've got breaking news. But the trouble is with this guy who's actually been announced. I know he's already read the Communist Manifesto. He's already read Mein Kampf. So here you go. Breaking news: the region appoints Dave Wheeler as chair. So it won't be bad news if he's caught with a copy of Mein Kampf in his hand because he's already read it.
Finally, the recognition I deserve. Although it's fallen a little short, I was sort of hoping for Emperor of the World. I mean, MPP.
Emperor of the world, yeah. You can't have that job because that's already taken.
Yeah, I'll move my way up. I'll move my way up. Chair of
No,
region,
I'm sorry,
MP,
but
prime minister, and then emperor of the world.
yeah, but Emperor of the world's already taken.
You mean the orangutan?
Did I say anything? I didn't say anything.
It's already taken by who? I'm just trying to guess who you think it is. You yourself?
No, not me. Not me. No.
You got to do
And
something about
you
that
had
ego of yours.
you had a guess that was in the right direction. Yeah.
Oh well. I thought you were thinking of yourself, and I was gonna
Oh,
give you a
no,
little bit of
no.
a dressing down about that ego you have. You
I
know,
I do not have such an ego. I wouldn't want to do that sort of thing, right?
I do,
Okay.
but I have that ego, but I deserve it. Um, it's not ill placed in me to be emperor of the world.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, you know, okay.
Hey,
Let's not
look,
go.
I think it's modesty. I could have asked to be, you know, emperor of the solar system or emperor of the galaxy. No, I kept it to the Earth. I think I'm rather modest. It's my natural humility, I think.
Yeah. Um, so I'm getting vibes here of what's that? Defender of the Universe.
Anyway, so we're not going to find any end to the war anytime soon, because
What do you mean the war's
uh,
over already? It's been over. It's been over longer than it's been on.
oh, they won for sure. They won. They won weeks ago. It's just the
They
fact
won
that
without even starting the war. You know.
there's just this irritating thing that's happened that some coincidentally happened after the war began was the closing of the Straits of Hormuz, which has affected the world economy. And I wonder why they didn't think that was going to happen. My, the Iranians don't play fair, do they? You're not supposed to do that. You weren't supposed to do that.
Yeah.
And now the United States got nothing. The United States has had to admit that there is probably 70% of Iran's military capability has survived the extensive bombing. The extensive bombing is extremely expensive, by the way. They can keep on bombing Iran all they want, but it's an extremely expensive process. The the war cost billions of dollars, and it can continue to cost billions of dollars. The the U.S. is moving a lot of its airplanes away from the Gulf and into Israel, where the protection is a little bit more powerful. They didn't win. They didn't do what they wanted to. They didn't get the regime
And,
changed. They didn't
and
get
all of the time, and all of the time of what have they done? They've forgotten all about Taiwan.
well, they haven't forgotten about it. I can tell you that because they were reminded smartly about that when the man who will not be mentioned went to China. He was
Yeah,
he was uh,
but
he
they're
was
not
straight
protecting
about that.
Taiwan right. They're not protecting Taiwan right now. Anyway, yeah,
Well, in any case, let's put it this way: uh, it dummy. There's a very unintelligent leader who's extremely ignorant. I wouldn't say unintelligent, but extremely ignorant guy who got involved in a war with Bibi Netanyahu. Bibi Netanyahu was loving it because he knew now he's got the dude, the orangutan, on a string. He could do anything he wants, right? Just give me the weapons. You think he's going to stop giving Bibi weapons? No. Is he going to do anything like that? No, he can't do that. The Israeli lobby will climb all over him, and the Republicans will cry like babies, like give them more bombs so they can kill more Arabs. Give them more bombs so they can kill more. Uh, you know, they got nothing. He's got nothing. Bibi's calling the shots. As a matter of fact,
yeah,
Iran issued uh, uh, a post, and it said the last four presidents of the United States. So it took the hairline of George Bush and put Bibi Netanyahu's face on it. Obama, right, a dark face with Bibi Obama's face on it. Um, they did that to Trump, of course, too, and to Biden, right? They've taken Bibi Netanyahu's face and put it right in the center of Biden's, Obama's, Bush's, and Trump's face. And that's what they said. Here are the last four presidents of the United States. In other words, saying Bibi is the guy who controls the shots in the
Yeah.
U.S.
Yeah.
and
All right.
uh, and you can't find too many people in Congress or Senate saying anything about that because they need that Israeli lobby money
Yeah.
to get elected.
Now, basically, Rick is saying that he got gas at 154 at 7-Eleven. Which 7-Eleven, I'm not sure. I'm presuming St. Catharines, Rick. I saw it Esso Lake Street was 155 last night.
You want to get it now because the way the thing is sitting with the war, there was some optimism at least that the uh, the blockages in the Straits of Hormuz would go away. The blockades would go away. That's what Trump said. But all that is now finished because Bibi will do what Bibi wants to do. Part of the ceasefire was to stop hostilities in
Yeah.
Lebanon. They didn't do that. They increased them. In
All right.
fact, Trump is very angry with Netanyahu for taking out a whole building to get one guy. We mentioned that yesterday. He says, "Are you effing crazy?" According to reports, when you're
Yeah.
taking out a whole building to get one guy and you're not even certain the guy's in there, they're talking
Yeah.
about 20, like 20 members of or 20 people in one building that got killed because they thought one guy was in there. And
Yeah.
Bibi don't care. Bibi don't care about that. He doesn't care. He doesn't
Okay.
care how many innocent people he kills.
Yeah. Okay. So, one of the things you put up an article was a couple of articles. This online hate towards various races and religions is on the growth. There was a couple of articles. Canada's civic compact is failing Jewish Canadians, Carney said in a speech, but also online hatred against Islamic groups is growing. Okay?
Yes. So here we have two articles. One is an opinion article I put in from the review, and I can't remember the source of that. If it was actually it's probably one of the Star
The Star
opinion.
article.
See if I
It's
can
a,
get it up. The
yeah,
other
it's a
one is, of
Star.
course, yeah, and the other one, of course, is the fact that the wide spectrum of hate one. That's from. Oh, I was trying to find the author here. Oh, Rosie DiMano, Star from the Star. Um, she usually does sports and current affairs for the Star, but she's putting out there. She zeroes in on the two young guys who were 17, 18 years old who attacked the mosque in San Diego. So there's this
Yeah,
mosque in San Diego, as you remember. It was very hard for any of the American politicians to say how bad and how terrible that was because it was Muslims. If it was Jews or Christians, they would have been fawning all over it. But the fact of the matter is, it pretty much had to be forced to say that it was a bad thing or even recognize it. So we have these two guys who said that Adolf Hitler was the greatest man alive. So there's 17. The second these guys are go in and then they blast. They
yeah,
blast the mosque. They killed 3 people. It is said that it would have killed a lot more if the security guard who had been there. Unfortunately, every church, every mosque, every synagogue's got to have, uh, or Hindu temple has got to have a security guard now with a gun. He was able to fight them back, so they were only able to kill 3, and then they killed themselves.
yeah,
What is this? It is the radicalization online. She's saying here, and then they talk about the 17-year-old guy that shoots up a synagogue in Toronto. Like he shoots up
yeah, yeah,
17
yeah.
years old. He kicks up. Why is it? Was that radicalized violence or a consequence of normalized anti-Semitism, equally repugnant as Islamophobia?
But I've
So you
seen,
have the online radicalizing youth, getting them to do murder suicides or getting them to shoot up a synagogue. Or what about that guy that was shot up the girls' school, the Jewish girls' school in Toronto? Sick dog. But it
yeah,
looks like it
oh
might
yeah,
have been a young guy, according to this.
yeah. And the whole point about some of these things is the online hatred is growing by leaps and bounds. It really is. And Carney was saying in a speech addressing anti-Semitism that Canada's civil compact is failing Jewish Canadians.
Well, it doesn't help what's going on in Israel too,
Yeah,
because a lot of people haven't really paid much attention to what Israel has done, and now they feel as if they when it's being revealed what Israel is being really like, they feel like they've been betrayed by the news, betrayed by the image that Israel put out there, and then just react really badly. I told this to a friend of mine a couple of years ago before the election, I told him my worry for the United States was once starts to become general knowledge of what the Israeli lobby is going to do, and I predicted that might happen because the Israeli lobbies got away with whatever they did for 20 years, even though there have people like John Mersheimer and stuff wrote books on it. The Israeli lobby got away with everything it did for years and years and was very safe. But once people start to realize that between the United States and Israel, who's the client state and who's the dominant state, well, we find that the United States should be the dominant state and the Israelis should be the client state, but actually everyone acts like it's the other way around. I felt once that becomes very clear knowledge, because the press has been able to subvert it very well for the longest of time. Once that becomes general knowledge, there's going to be a reaction, anti-Semitic reaction, and I've said a few times, I'm worried about the anti-Semitic reaction when people realize what kind of a country Israel really is.
yeah,
But remember, that's Israel, right? That's not the Jews here, even though they may support Israel. That's a country. That's Zionism. That's not the religion. That's not the people. However, unfortunately, just like we got this massive anti-Islamic flourish after 9/11. After 9/11 happened, everybody hated Muslims for the longest time, and they were responsible for all the problems in the world. Well, now we have these two equal forces, Islamophobia and anti-Semitism, that are working. Now, the problem with anti-Semitism, it is falsely charged to a lot of people. So if you're anti-Israel, you must be anti-Islam or anti-Semite, right? If you're anti-Iran, nobody's going to say you're you're Islamophobic. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
there's a distinction there. But the same person, I'm telling you, the same person that hates a Jew is the same person that hates a Muslim. It's the same, and probably the Hindus and the Sikhs as well. My problem, of course, is how do you criticize Zionism? How do you criticize what the country is of Israel is doing politically without being called an anti-Semite?
Yeah.
And how are people developing anti-Semitic views? In this article, they say they're radicalized on online.
Well, and the incidents that you talked about in that article is one in Toronto, one in San Diego. There's also another thing whereby this 17-year-old boy in Southport in England also uh, was another mass murder event or trying to make a mass murder event.
Another mass murder event?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, and they've been radicalized. So
yeah,
in that particular case, they went after Muslims. In the case of Toronto, some 17-year-old, it was Jews. Um, and we
and
remember that kid that shot up the Tops Market in Buffalo, killed what, 14 people or whatever it
yeah,
was
yeah,
in Tops. Now he was radicalized online too. And he went after them because they were to fight the replacement. Well, I don't want to be replaced. And yet the ignorance of that young man was insane. He didn't realize that the replacement theory had said nothing at all about American blacks at all. As a matter of fact, their populations are declining the same as the whites. The whole replacement theory is people coming from other parts of the world to replace us. Um,
Yeah,
People, one of the replacement theories is also against Jews. Jews will replace. I don't know where they get that. I mean, there's aren't that many that can be replaced, can replace us. I mean, there are only 15 million, 16 million
and
in the world. How can they replace us? So that's dumb. Anyway, so they use ignorance and they use rage. You know,
yeah,
they make responsible. So every Muslim in the world was responsible for 9/11. That's kind of
yeah.
mindset. Every Jew in the world is responsible for I don't know whatever they're supposed to be responsible for, and and that's the kind of they
Well, what
take a
this,
young man
uh,
and burn his brain. I don't know how young women are affected by these things. It seems to be young men mostly.
well, I was going to say this is all about youth. People are under 20 who are committing these things. There was 13, 14-year olds in no, that was the UK one. There was another one here that was Florida.
Yeah, they're all over the place. But remember,
Yeah,
there's not that many incidences. I think overall, generally speaking, you're looking at there are those people out there that are easily radicalized.
yeah,
And those are the people, unfortunately, those are the ones that are become victims. Now, in this particular, in San Diego, the guys decided Muslims were the worst thing all, and Hitler was the greatest man ever, so they're going to kill a lot of Muslims. Well, the same dudes would probably try to kill Jews, you know, if they had their choice. You see what I mean? The mindset
yeah.
is the
Oh,
same
yeah.
in my experience. Like the people that used to hate Jews and now hate Muslims are the same guy. You know,
Mm,
uh, uh, so I don't know. There's the same guy that hates blacks too. It's the same person. But there is a general trend now. I think because people feel that they have been used by the media and they haven't had a clear idea of what Israel has been like and what the Palestinian issue has been like, and that's become more and more clear because there's less and less control over independent media. That you look at a guy like Tucker Carlson or whatever her name is, Megan Kelly, is it? Whatever. I'm not too sure of these people, but they're decrying what Israel has done now. That would be verboten before. They wouldn't be
yeah.
able to touch that with a 10-foot pole.
All
And
right.
both of them have said when they worked for Fox, it was the rule. You don't say anything
Yeah.
bad about Israel at all.
Yeah.
You know.
All right. We've got to end it here anyway, Dave.
Okay, so anyway, I'll bring up Gaza again. It's Gaza, and I don't really have to go much into it because we already talked about Bibi doing the collective punishment in Lebanon. Same thing he's doing in Gaza. Trump is finally getting mad at him, but because of the powerful effect of the Israeli lobby, I don't know how much effect Trump will actually have. He's supposed to be the most powerful guy in the world, but he can't tell a country of 10 million people to stop bombing people. In fact, he is forced to give them bombs, ask them not to bomb them, and they'll bomb them anyway. Just like
Hmm.
Biden. It's exactly the same thing with
Yeah.
Biden.
Yeah.
Biden says, please don't bomb Rafah. He gave them bombs, and then they bombed Rafah. And what did they say? Well, he didn't really bomb Rafah. He bombed around the outside of Rafah. So he even couldn't do anything. So that Iranian billboard or post where you have four presidents, where you had Bush, Obama, Biden, and Trump, all with the face of Netanyahu on it, saying the last four presidents of the United States, that's not too far off. Without further ado, I bid you adieu.